walked away from a life that was making me ill. If you watched my last video, you'll know just how far that went. But what I didn't realize at the time was that leaving was only the beginning. In order to save my life, I chose to walk away from the corporate world. And it wasn't an easy decision. I had years invested, and the plan was always to climb my way to the top. So walking away felt like wasting years of my life with nothing to show for it. I also knew that walking away wasn't going to instantly fix everything. I spent pretty much my entire life in survival mode, and I didn't expect it to just switch off overnight. Even though the physical symptoms disappeared, the moment I left that job, I could feel how close I still was to tipping right back over the edge. So I knew I had to start learning to live differently, resting without guilt, which is still one of my biggest obstacles, and learning how to exist without constantly pushing myself over the edge, which I'm better, but I have to be careful with that one because it can creep into various parts of my life. In learning to live differently, I started to deprogram myself from the system's conditioning and everything I was taught to believe about how to live and what success should look like, because for most of my life I was treating myself like a machine that needed to be optimized for maximum output, forgetting that I'm actually a living thing that needs to be nurtured to survive. We're often led to believe that peace requires something drastic, some big change, a completely different life, a cottage in the woods, a dramatic escape to somewhere else entirely, but that's not true. I realized I didn't need to disappear from my life completely to create something calmer. I could start in that moment right where I was, because I realized that peace isn't a destination. It's something you build choice by choice, boundary by boundary, moment by moment. And I also realized that leaving the corporate world didn't equate to failure. It didn't mean I'd wasted my education or my time or my life up to that point. It just meant that I was leaving that chapter behind and writing something new for myself. And really, it was up to me how much of that last chapter I wanted to bring in to the new one. At the end of the day, I decided to let go of that life that was destroying me, to stop chasing status, job titles, promotions, and the version of success I thought I needed in order to be successful in life. I eventually downsized my house, my car, my life. I chose, and I'm still choosing, less consumption, slower routines, and much stronger boundaries. Leaving that life behind really wasn't the easiest thing I ever did, but it was the best thing that I ever did. It saved me. I've learned that it's okay to give things up and move in a different direction in order to start living the one life you have in a way that actually serves you better. And it doesn't matter how many times you do this or how old you are, the choice is yours as to whether or not that's something you want to do. And really, for me, it came down to one choice I make every morning, and that's to value my peace over status. Sometimes the bravest and strongest thing you can do isn't pushing harder. It's listening when your body says enough and choosing something else, because the life that you're building should actually feel like living, not something you're constantly trying to survive. Reprogramming yourself is daily work. I'm still learning, still unlearning, still figuring it out. But for the first time, I'm not running. I'm just here. If you're at that point where your body is saying enough, I want you to know that listening to it isn't a failure. It's the best thing you could ever do for yourself. And you don't have to start with grand gestures. When you're coming out of survival mode, severe burnout, high stress, big changes can feel really overwhelming. I left my job to save my life, but the bigger life changes came over time. Now, that doesn't mean that I didn't initially try to make big overnight, daily changes, because, I thought that was the answer to healing my mind and my body. But those attempts just added to my stress and my overwhelm, the exact opposite of what I wanted. And at first it felt counterintuitive to do things slower, because it was against my nature, and because when you're in survival mode, your instinct is to move faster, do more, and fix everything immediately to feel safe. So choosing to go slow and steady and acting against the high pressure instinct wasn't easy, but I realized pretty quickly that the logical path of rushing only leads to more stress and burnout. I found that the key to coming out of survival mode, de-stressing, and long-term change really is to start small. So I stopped trying to change everything overnight. At first it was just a couple of small, non-negotiable moments. The first one was 1 cup of tea, enjoyed sitting down whilst doing nothing once a day. And the second, just having calm music in the background throughout my day. That was it. And from there, I made simple changes, little by little, day by day, that led to bigger changes that's allowing me to now live a simpler, more intentional and slower life. So if you're tired of running, maybe today is the day you just stop. Take some time to slow down, even for 5 minutes. Start with the tea, or whatever drink you'd enjoy, or start with the silence. The rest of the journey will be there when you're ready.